Hello everyone. So today we would be discussing the career story of Swati. She is here with us to tell us her story and what kind of responsibility she has taken into. She has started her career with sales and has traveled through business from business to data. And right now she is working into BI as a BI engineer. So I would like to introduce her, and Swati, all yours. You can go ahead and you can share your story however you want. All yours.
Sure. So thanks a lot, Olga, for having me here. And to start with, I'll share how I started my career with sales and then how I landed up here in a core data. So after finishing my electrical engineering as a sales analyst with Zomato, it was just for a couple of months. Then I realized that I wanted to do and move towards a more technical and core profile. Really developed my interest in analytics. So because I had been involved into a lot of sales, I used to put up in at a place which was quite close uh, to I mean to these colleges. Yeah, DTU. So there were a lot of analytics conferences colleges. So I got my interest developed from that place, and then I understood working to sales. Then I understood that I want to go to. So that's how I realized that I need to leave sales and I need to develop skills that I need to work in analytics. So the very first thing that I did was to understand what exactly analytics is, what are the tools and technologies that we use, and slowly I gained these skills. And after 5 years, here I am working as a analyst, or you can say engineer. And currently, I have a background of fintech. So, okay, I have a presentation prepared for everything. Let me share my screen. So we can start from here. So this is my journey towards data science, and I have tried to keep it concise and as currently I'm pursuing masters from Liverpool, John, and my first year has already been completed from IIIT Bangalore. My specialization is business intelligence and data analytics, and currently I am employed with. It's into fintech, and it's a startup based out of Kansas. So to begin with, prepare this slide. I started working as a sales manager, and these are the tools that I have used. MS Excel. They had a dashboard that used to tell all the details to sellers. They were the system generated graphs that tell about the restaurant owners, how the restaurant was performing, the cost of the food, the revenue that they were generating, the number of orders that it was taking, that a particular uh, restaurant was taking. So when I took a look at these dashboards, I understood that this is what something I want to do. So I got in touch with a lot of people in Zomato itself, and then I spoke to them. They were already into this field. They told me that these are the tools that they were using, and they mentioned SQL, Python, etc., etc. So I that day I decided that I'm going to self teach myself these, and then I'll seek a career in analytics. So after working for 2 months in Zomato, I left it because I did not like sales at all, and I was already inclined towards analytics. I then joined a very small startup, and the reason behind joining a small startup was because I was kind of fresher and no one would have given me a role directly into analytics. So that's why. So here I joined as business data analyst, and my main tool was MS Excel, Power BI. MS Excel was the one tool that gave me a lot of knowledge and the structure of the data, the kind of foundation that anyone needs when they are beginning their career, especially in the field of data. So you can say that it's a beginner's tool to get yourself acknowledged with acquainted with all the things that you would be requiring later on in the later stages of your life. So after that, we moved to SSMS. So SS a tool and it uses structured query language SQL to extract the details of the tables. And when the data gets out of control in MS Excel, SQL is the next thing you will be moving on to. So here I learned SQL. In fact, I was already aware of it because of my engineering background. We already knew how to SQL codes. It's just that here, while I was working in the startup, I started implementing it. And after that, I realized that okay, now I'm comfortable and I can move ahead with my career. So after that, after working here for almost 2.5 years, I started giving interviews for other jobs and then I landed at a job at Paytm. Paytm was a big turning point for my career because Paytm was the place where I started dealing with large number of data sets and I got to work on so many tech stacks. So there's a benefit when you are working with a startup. There's a benefit that you will always have the tech stacks that you will be using would be latest, and it will make you more employable for your next journey. So you can see I was working with Hive, I was working with AWS S3, Google BigQuery, Data Studio. So after that, I joined United Health Group. So United Health Group is a Fortune 5 company. It's into healthcare, and it works with a different model. I mean, while I was working with Paytm, I had just one field. While I was working with United Health Group, I realized that although they had hired analysts, uh, every project required me to land into a different role and do whatever it was. So while I was working here, I worked into data engineering. I worked as a Tableau developer. I worked as an analyst. I also worked into some parts of data architect. See, UHG enabled me to work into different profiles. So after this, I thought that I am ready and I can move ahead with the next role. I started giving interviews again. Then I landed at my current job at Cedar4, which I is one of the finest decisions that I've ever made. So here I'm working as a business intelligence analyst, and my tools here are Redshift, SSMS Pyramid. Pyramid is a BI tool, and it has got the capability of Blue and Power combined. In fact, I would say that it it is better than both of these two combined. So, and we also have DBT. DBT is a new tool. DBT is kind of you can engineer the tables the way you want, the way you want to consume. And imagine you are given a platform where you can you can engineer the tables your way, you can document it, test it. You have the ability to behave as a software engineer. That's the kind of tool DBT is. So I won't about it because let's stick to the topic. And yeah, so these and this is my 5 year status journey. So here we are trying to in this session we are trying to address the problem can a non-tech person having no coding background or you know, having inadequate uh, education and knowledge of coding, how can that person educate himself to transition in a role of BA? So first of all, we need to understand what exactly is uh, a business analyst and what are the KRAs of a business analyst. You can see we have a very simple and definition here. It's the practice of engineering organization, and you have to define the needs, and then you have to recommend the solutions to the business stakeholders. This is a simple definition, but it can mean a lot of things. Contest and in different forms. So the good thing that why most of the people choose starting with the role of BA is because it requires you to you don't have to be a intensive person at the beginning. I'm not saying that you won't be after 2 to 3 years in BA. I'm assuming that you're someone who has a non-tech background or a fresher, and then you want. So I'm so prerequisites are these. Then you might not have a lot of coding, scripting languages. So you can think of this profile as the first stage or the first step of entering into data science. So because this is an overlap of non-technical profile and a technical profile, that's why it is a perfect blend and a perfect gateway to enter into data sciences. So, okay, let's speak more about the areas of a BA. On my left hand side, you can see that these are the non-tech skills that a BA would require. On the right hand side, you can see that these are the technical skills that a BA might require. So, to understand this a little deeper, what is this person doing? This person is trying to understand, trying to identify the problems, any kind of problem that might be present in the existing system. And then the person is trying to gather all those business requirements related to it. And that the person is trying to convert this problem statement, this non-tech problem statement, into a technical problem statement. Magic that you have to perform. You have to identify a non-tech problem. You have to convert it into a technical problem. So that's how you're bridging the gap between these two profiles. Then you go to people and you say, okay, we have got this problem. The existing set of tools that we have. How can we solve it? And then you can you can coordinate these people. Okay, so you can see while you're working with this, you also have to be aware of their language. What is their language? That their language is the language of code. You have to know SQL. You might need to. I have Python here, but it's nice to have. And anyways, you are going to learn it in the later stages of your career. But if you are starting, you can start with SQL. Jira is a management tool, and it is a must-have tool because you track the status, the progress of the project. You interact with the stakeholders and you gather the requirements in every possible detail. Then you might need Excel or Google Sheets to share the nitty-gritties of the details. You need to aware with some a little bit of statistics. You might end up building a lot of key performance. That's not true for a lot of companies, but that might be true for the other lot. Then it's nice to have some kind of dashboarding tool because it would be required to generate the insights. It's optional, but nice to have. So you can see that you are interacting with the non-technical people as well as the technical people. So you have to have the skills of both the sides. Now, when you have understood the problem and you have solved the problem using the technical language of these technical people, you go back to these non-technical people and to effectively communicate that okay, this is the solution that we have got, and you have to have these people skills to effectively communicate with them. You have to do a lot of planning, even though you have got the right solution, but to implement it, you need to communicate it properly. You need to plan it properly. You have to have a lot of analytical approach to make these people understand why. So this is how the KRA of a BA looks, and this is how we would coordinate between these two profiles. Next, we move ahead, and I want to discuss this very interesting thing that if you have just started your journey in business analysis, how to choose companies you need to join. Let us say that you have got offers from two different kinds of company. One is product based, one is service based. So based on that, I have curated this list. You can go through this and then identify, okay, this company might be better, and why. Everyone is different, they have different requirements. So let's try to decode this one by one. So let us say you have an offer from a product based company for the role of business analysis. The good thing here is that, for example, Microsoft, are working at Microsoft, you will have more focus, ownership of your work, because Microsoft lot of offerings. Microsoft has a lot of, you are kind of the center of attraction, and everyone will have eyes on you, and that's why ownership, because Microsoft is a product based company. And who is taking ownership, who has to do everything from planning, strategy. You are the one responsible for everything. The second thing you will feel that you're actually building something because you are 100% involved in building that product. You do not have any external stakeholders. You're working for yourself. You're working for your internal. Fourth thing, it can get, because the nature of the product would not frequently. How many products do you think a company launch? Yes, it is going to be limited, max to max 20. So you can think of it way that your job might become repetitive in a while. You have figured out everything after a few months, or maybe a few quarters. Then product-based companies, they worked on sprint. They work on the model, and they have a fast environment. So you won't feel bored at all. The next thing is that a product-based company has to have a lot of good technical staff, and they are the one who are actually buying a lot of latest technologies. See, uh, seventh point, when you worked uh, in a full-fledged role of a business analyst, because you have figured out everything, you have interacted with a lot of good group of people. You interacted with engineers, data engineers, software engineers, data scientists, business intelligence engineers. So you have interacted with everyone. You understand how everyone works, what is the role that everyone is playing in that particular project. So now you can in fact lead a full-fledged operation as a product manager. So it is going to be very easy for you to transition into roles in near future. And the other good thing in the product-based company is that you get to specialize in one particular area. So, for example, if you are a business analyst in the field of, and you have a domain of logistics, you will understand everything in logistics. You can handle everything on your own. For fintech, you know everything, because you have challenges of that domain, and you might not have any new surprises there. It's coming to service-based companies. So what happens in a service-based, that more or less these are consulting firms, for example, Accenture, EXL. So what happens here is that you just know what you are responsible for, because they are big players, and you just have the idea. You just know the subset of what's happening, and obviously there's less ownership, because the people who are senior to you up in the hierarchy, they are the ones responsible for driving everything. Then, as I mentioned earlier, the whole context might be missing. You might not be aware of every possible detail. You might just only know what exactly you're responsible for and what exactly you are doing. That's it. But that can be, if you speak and interact with different people, you can overcome that as well. Third point is that working exclusively for external stakeholders. You're working in India and your client might be sitting in UK. You don't know. So, and you have a very with your client. So you might the complete communication. There can be communication barriers with the client, and you can't communicate frequently. These are that ways. Now the fourth point is kind of good and bad, that every project is try to take this in a positive. So for the first quarter, you have been involved with a project that had the domain of logistics. Now you're involved with the project that is into healthcare. You can be involved into an e-commerce project and so you will have a diverse portfolio. Okay, so the fifth point is slow environment. Yes, because a lot of people are involved and the flow of communication can be impacted. It can be slow. So these consulting service-based companies might have a slow environment. There can be exceptions, but this is what I've seen. The is limited but diverse tech stack. Yes. So you will see that the service-based companies do not like to invest a lot in new technologies. They will have the same tool for data. For example, they will have SQL Server, they will have Redshift. You are doing the same thing, but you have different tools to access the same data. There can be redundancy, but you give you a diverse platform to work into. You will, yeah. Once you are thorough with these tools and technologies, you will feel the benefit out of it. You can mention these things in your resume, and you will stand out. You can take this point as well as a bad point. The next thing that because you have worked in different domains, you have worked with healthcare, logistics, supply chain, etc., etc. Now it would be quite easy for you to transition into a company having such backgrounds. So, for example, for us in a healthcare project in Accenture, can easily transition into healthcare companies like UHG, Novartis. If you work in a fintech finance project in Accenture, you can transition into companies having a finance background like Paytm, uh, Mastercard, Visa, etc. There you will have diverse exposure and learning, but you're not specializing into one thing. Okay. So the next thing that we have here is what are the future prospects for business analysts. I'm trying to I'm trying to be quite detail oriented here, but it might not be true in every scenario. But this is what I have seen. So for a product based company, you can once you have spent at least 2 to 3 years in the role of BA, you will find yourself fit enough to transition into a role of product manager. Or you can transition into a role of BI engineer. But there's a catch here. You have to understand and learn what these people have been doing in their projects. For example, the thing that I have mentioned in this bracket is that if you want to transition into this role and you have been a BA in the past, if you learn a little something of advanced SQL, Python, BI, you can transition into this role. If you if you learn advanced ML and AI, you can transition into the role of data science. The point behind mentioning these tools in brackets. This is a little something that you need, and I'm expecting you have spent 2 to 3 years in a role of BA, and if you have interacted with many people, you definitely might have an idea of what these people are working, what are their means, what are their tools, and how they are achieving a particular target. So this much I'm expecting, and that's why I'm suggesting you with these roles after learning these things. And the good thing is that when if you are more inclined towards technical roles, you can think of joining product-based companies while you're transitioning your role from BA to these roles. And if you are trying, if you're aiming to join a service-based company, you will be well suited for a role of service delivery leader because These are the people who are responsible for managing, maintaining, and delivering end-to-end solution. They are the one who were in the start of the project and then who were in the end of the project as well. They coordinate everyone, and there's a smooth data flow. So you know how to handle all of these things because this is when you have worked in a service-based company. Then you can also transition into a role of business consultant because you have seen a um, diverse nature of different domains. So I can say that you can you will you I'm if you have worked 2 to 3 years into the field of logistics, healthcare, etc., then I think you can very well differentiate between the different metrics that one industry may have. So that makes you quite suitable to work as a business consultant for that field. Then you can be a project manager. Again, the responsibility is to implement solutions. You can be a portfolio manager who's uh, if you have worked 2 to 3 years in one domain, then you might obtain the specialization in that domain itself. Uh, you can transition for the role of QA engineers. QA, I mean, by QA I mean quality analyst. You know what can are the metrics that can go wrong, and then you might have an idea of correcting it because you have an experience of working in the past. You can also work as a business strategy consultant manager because you know what are the things that can be the roadblockers, and you have the experience and now you can solve it. So more or less you can transition into the role of business heads or people who are more to like when you're joining a service based company. So these are the things that have been you can say that this is from my perspective. Someone else might have a different perspective, but these are the suggestions that I have for you. I think that I've covered almost everything here. Yeah, so that's the end of the presentation. Alga, let me know what questions.
Yeah, so I saw very beautifully covered career tracks. That is something which I was looking forward to. The reason is because many of us know what is needed in the present job role, but we usually don't know what is there in the next step. And it's always good to have a roadmap. So now I have a couple of things which I would like to understand from you. As you being the expert here, you have already worn multiple hats and you have been into multiple responsibilities. So my first question is that in the last slide, what I observed, so you have mentioned two things there, which is business, in terms of architect and strategy. So if you could help us understand what is the difference in architect and strategy role, like in the leadership, of course, but what exactly it comes in terms of responsibilities.
Uh, so so when you are in the role of business architect, you can
Mm-hmm.
think of it as a more technical kind of role.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and when you are you can think of there will be more and execution involved in that role,
Okay.
and
So if I,
also
yeah.
so it depends a lot in what kind of industry you're working in, what kind of if it's a service base or a product base.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen in the recent times that most of the companies they do not have a different KRA. You might need to do one thing in one project and the other thing in the other project. So it doesn't matter. You can get a responsibility and you have to fulfill that.
Right, right. So what I understand from you here is that when we talk about this kind of roles, so for an example, just now as we were discussing the architect role, so architect is most likely pioneering the solution where the person is driving the solution, and the strategy is more towards the implementation level.
Yes,
Right.
yes. So when you are strategizing something, it's
Mm-hmm.
more like why and how's when. It's more like descriptive and diagnostic.
Right.
But when it comes to architect, you get
Mm-hmm.
the word architect means you're building something. You know,
Right.
you're more towards the technical side of the solution. You are aware of the technical problems and the roadblockers, and
Mm-hmm.
even of business architect as a subset of strategy in bigger companies.
Right. Right. Understood. Understood. Okay. So now my next question would be, that as you have taken your transition, so I'll quickly connect my whiteboard. Just wanted to draw a graph line here. Let me know once you are able to see my whiteboard. Okay. So
Yeah, yeah.
now, yeah. So now my question would be that as you have started your career from sales, right? I see that you have started as a sales manager. So, for an example, someone who is right now working into sales today, and I see that from sales you have covered to business, right? From business you have covered to data, and data you are right now into BI, right? So now if I talk about what can be the easiest way to take a transition, like in terms of responsibilities, not in terms of tools, because tools you have very well covered and you have shared the SQL and whatever tools are needed, so those things you have mentioned very well. Suppose someone who is working into sales and say have an experience of, for an example, say 6 months to a year, 1 year, okay, because people who are into senior also, they are already aware of the career path. So now someone who is into this kind of role, and from there the person wants to either move to business, or from here the person wants to move to data, or from here the person wants to move towards BI, right? So what kind of responsibility change it will be, and how this experience will be relevant? Because what I understand, that if someone is into sales, so in sales also we analyze a lot of data, may not be through
Yes.
Python or SQL, but we analyze, right? Probably through Excel, probably through different ways. So one thing what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, so one thing what I understand, in these three segments, one very important part is analytics. Right. So now analytics, and if I talk about data or business intelligence, preferably through tools like dashboarding tools, or maybe scripting languages like Python or R. Apart from that, what do you think is the next most important thing which a person goes through the responsibilities? Like in sales, we have different pitch formations, we have KRAs, we have different target oriented things. In business, also, we have to see the business growth. Like, for an example, if someone who is working with Apple, right now, if the person is at the sales of Apple products and the person wants to make a transition into a business role, so in there, whenever you have data, you have to interpret and understand how that will be valued for the business growth. Right. So what do you think? Like, what are your views on that?
So that's a great question, Radha. In fact, if if you figure out a first question, I think you're already halfway there. This is the kind of question it is. So let us say that someone is walking into sales and the person wants to have a transition. The very first thing that I strongly recommend is to take your data, whatever field you are, take your data and dump it into the tools that we people use. Like the very first basic tool is Excel. Start to build the foundation of data. Why I'm saying is this, because you need to have an analytical approach. Have a sales approach, and in fact, it's better. It serves as a great foundation. So you dump the data in Excel and you try to identify patterns. First, you're trying to get the zest. Why are you transitioning into a role of data? Maybe because you like patterns. Maybe because you try to do something out of it. Just do something that makes sense. That makes takes you a little closer to this field.
Right.
This is what I would suggest. Then you will understand. Okay, now I need to move to SQL. Explain potential. The file day by day. Now I have to dump space. Because of the nature of the data, I will have to use structured query language to extract the tables, to extract the data. Then you will understand. Once you are done with it, let us say that you have done select star and you have extracted a table, you have extracted all the details that you need to do with it. You need a tool to identify patterns. Where do you go? You go back to a BI tool. You go back to Python. You start using queries. Why are you doing this? Because the kind of data that you were using before limited. Now you are handling data that has volume, velocity, and everything. You can't deal it easily on it. So understand, you now you have a foundation built for it. If you're working in any field, not sales, you might be working in a non-analytical field role, sorry, and then you might have a background of finance or logistics or hospitality. It can be anything. Take that data, identify patterns, get comfortable with Excel, do every possible thing Excel has to offer. So the first thing that I did was to go on the developer app that Excel had. I experimented with everything, and then I understood the limitation of Excel. I understood the need of advanced technologies that we had, and then I started learning them. So one step will lead to another. So that so
Mm.
now you have the business knowledge, you have the patterns, and you're already there. You're almost done.
Right. That's that answers my question, and it's a very valid point that you have to explore the possibilities. Even if you're working with Excel, there are multiple possibilities which you can explore. Yeah. So I guess like that's something what I had from my
And
side. Yeah. Yeah. So any
then
last minute note or anything which you want to leave for the end users, and probably if we have questions coming up, we might have a recurring session sometime later, just for Q&A base. So anything which you want to leave as a last minute ending note.
I just want to use Excel as your Bible. It has everything you need. The reason I'm stressing so much is that there's no other tool that you might be familiar with. It is easily available on each and every one's an excuse that I don't know this, I don't have, I have to arrange this and that. It is pretty accessible. You start with that's what I had, and yes, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Any questions I mentioned details here itself. So feel
Absolutely. I will tag your LinkedIn on the description, and as well as the slide which I've used. I will tag that slide as well for people who are curious to explore and probably learn about those tools as well. So, one thing what I understand from this discussion is that people who are into non-tech or into sales or into different backgrounds, from there also people can move to tech. And personally, I have also been into different responsibilities. Even I started from tech, so that was my journey as well. But now I got a perspective where you brought your entire story from sales towards business and data. So thanks Swati for sharing all this.
no problem, Naga. And there's thing that I would to add. So analytics has gained momentum in this time period, but it has been so much highlighted. I know, but we people were always doing that the intensity of data and the volume of data is so huge advanced. Everyone has this approach already. They're just if there is some kind of inferiority complex or there's no guidance, but everyone can do it.
Absolutely, that is totally true. Even I believe in that. Everyone can do it. Great, great. Okay, so
So thank you so much, Aga, again for having me here.
sure, sure. Thank you, Swati, for sharing all the thoughts. Wrapping up, and all
Yeah.
the best
Okay.
for your career
Bye.
as well. Sure.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.